Hey there, before you jump into the episode, I want to invite you personally to my upcoming free spring cleanup. It is a live 3-day workshop mini-series where we will get your equine business ready before the busy summer season. So whether your busy season is a show season or horse camps, or maybe it's changing family schedules with kids at home or a mix of all of the above, we are going to take 30 minutes a day for 3 days to intentionally prep your business so you can actually enjoy the things that are keeping you busy without feeling always behind. If you're ready to go into your busy season feeling clear, prepared, and not scrambling, then sign up for the spring cleanup today at stormlily.com/spring. Now, on each session, each day, we will focus on one simple area to clean up before you get so busy that you wish you would have. Now, if you can't make it live, join us still because replays will be available. So go ahead and sign up. I will email you the replays. I do not want you to miss this opportunity. It's completely free, completely packed with value, and I want you to be there. So head to stormlily.com/spring. I will see you there. Hello there. Welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. So glad you're joining me here today. Just in case we're new friends, I'm going to quickly introduce myself and then we're going to dive right into today's guest, which I cannot wait for you to meet. Now, my name is Denise Alvarez. I get to host you here each week on the podcast. And through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I also get to help dream-chasing equine business owners just like yourself to clear the marketing fog so they can take strategic, intentional steps to build their business with confidence and with purpose. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast and some online learning resources for you all as well. But all that I do, friends, is so that you, as an equestrian entrepreneur, a horse business owner who is serving the industry in your unique way, whether you are behind the camera lens, in the barn, in the arena, in the show pen, at the computer, wherever you are building your business and showing up in the horse world, I want to help you do more of that. And today we are doing that by way of an interview with a fellow entrepreneur. Her name is Coagi Long. And while you may not immediately know her name, I bet you know her company, which is Equine Affaire. Coagi is the president and the owner, and she joined me on the podcast to share her journey of how she got to this point in the business because she is not the founder. So she took the reins from the founder, and you're going to hear how she got to this point, what she has learned along the way, and what she would tell her fellow entrepreneurs like yourself. One of the things that you're going to hear us talk about is team culture, because I didn't know this walking in, but they have 6 team members. She has 6 employees that are full-time, I should say. They have many team members that join at the event. But 4 of her 6 employees, you guys, have been with her for more than 10 years. So you're going to hear how that has happened because I know that team is something many of you struggle with. I also talked to her about marketing. As many of you know, it is a large event, and I'll tell you exactly what Equine Affaire is in just a second in case you're like, Denise, I haven't heard of that one yet. You're going to want to after this conversation. We're also going to talk about how to cater your messaging to different audiences and the importance of staying inspired as the owner and the visionary of your company. Now, for those of you who have not yet heard of Equine Affaire, you're going to want to look them up after you meet Coagi. But I will tell you that they label this event as North America's premier 4-day equine exposition and gathering. It's held twice a year, one in Ohio and one in Massachusetts. And it serves as a major educational and trade event for the industry. They have diverse horse breeds, hundreds of clinics, and that's not an exaggeration, you guys. There's so much education happening here, which you'll hear Coagi talk about. They also have a massive trade show and Fantasia, which is a much anticipated musical celebration of the horse. And it happens, like I said, in Ohio and Massachusetts. Fantasia is different at each one, and it is different each year. Equine Affair is designed for horse enthusiasts, owners, and industry professionals, and you will hear more about that from Coagi. So, as I said, you're going to love hearing from her because her story is unique and there are lessons that she is sharing that are going to help you. So, you may not have a huge expo like her, but you are building a business, and so is she. Now, I actually had the pleasure of presenting at Equine Affair. I have to think back to years, but I've been at each event. I've gotten to present on marketing at each event. It was such a pleasure. And I have clients now that also have presented or are presenting this year. And so I'm a huge fan of what they are doing and how they're serving the industry. And I cannot wait for you guys to meet Coagi. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let me introduce you to Coagi Long. Okay, Coagi, thank you so much for joining me here today. I truly appreciate your gift of time, and I can't wait to learn more about your story.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit and having fun.
Yes. Well, I'm so pumped. And I want to start at the beginning for you. And I always preface this with letting my guests know I realize that this first question can feel like a big one because your journey has not been just a snippet. And I know I'm asking you to take it and put it into a snippet. So just know there is space for you to tell your story here in this question because this really sets the groundwork for people that are listening and fellow entrepreneurs that are listening to get to know you and your journey. And it reminds everybody listening as well that it's a journey. And, there are different pieces and parts that are building and preparing for the next phase of what is going on. And so for you, I would love to know. Obviously, we're going to talk about Equine Affair, and I know you didn't found Equine Affair, although you're the president and owner now. But before even Equine Affair, tell me a bit about your background and how you got into horses and how you got into this side of the horse business.
Sure. Well, it's a great question. I grew up in northern Michigan near Traverse City, and my parents had a small farm, and we also had a cider mill. So, to power the cider mill, we actually used Norwegian fjord horses to actually press the apples, and it was kind of a whole process. So, I grew up with Norwegian fjords originally, and had my own fjord up through high school, and did some trail riding with them. Also had a passion for dressage, so did as much dressage as I could. Obviously, fjords aren't always the most talented in that aspect, but we had fun. And then I also went to the University of Findlay, knowing that I loved horses, wanted to do something with horses for my career, just wasn't entirely sure what. Initially, I thought maybe a riding instructor, maybe a college professor, something along those lines, kind of liking the educational component of that. Um, so I majored in marketing, business administration, and equine studies at the University of Findlay for my college studies. Participated on the intercollegiate hunt seat and dressage teams and had a lot of success there. And really kind of through college realized that I didn't necessarily want to ride or teach every day in the barn. I kind of wanted to keep horses, the riding part of it, as something special as my hobby. So kind of turned more to the business side of things. And really was a senior and kind of looking at jobs and job opportunities, and a job posting for Equine Affair was on the University of Findlay's job board. And I said, that might be an interesting fit. So I applied for it. It was a marketing position in the marketing department. Coordinating the press releases, the print projects, the raffle, photography, videography, all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of where I got my feet wet, I guess you might say. Started with the
Yeah.
company.
And about
And
what year-ish was that, Coagi?
that was 2003.
Okay. Okay. And so for
Mhm.
had you been to Equine Affair when you saw it listed, were you like, "Oh, I love this event," like, excited about it? Or
I
kind of what was your understanding of Equine Affair at that point? And geez, that was 23 years ago, so it probably looked very different, I'm guessing, than many of us know
sure,
it now?
sure. Yes. So I had attended Equine Affair a couple of times as I guess, a young adult, you might say. I remember going and saying, "Wow, this is really, really neat." I actually in college did get to ride in one of the clinics on one of the college horses, so I did have some connection with the company or through the company. just in those experiences previously, and knew that it was something that was just great for the industry and something that might be fun to be a part of.
Okay.
So so back then, it really we still focused on the core, the education, the trade show, our Fantasia evening performance. I would say over the years we've kind of been able to highlight different educational components as the equine industry kind of ebbs and flows in terms of what's most popular, where's horsemanship and training going, that kind
Mhm.
of a thing. But I would say we've been able to really stick with our core mission of education and bringing the whole industry together.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So you got into the marketing department when it was like, and at that time were there multiple events? Because I know you all right now have your Ohio and then your East
and the
Coast.
mess. Yes, correct. At that time, we also produced an event in California.
Okay.
We were in Pomona, California for about 10 years, from about 2001 to 2011. Um,
Okay.
and then after in 2011, we kind of decided that we would focus on the two Central and
Okay.
East Coast. Not that it wasn't a good event out west. It was just more something where we're putting the same amount of effort in, but the attendance and size of the show just wasn't the size that the two on the East Coast are.
Okay. Mhm.
So we have our core staff putting all of our efforts into our two events now.
Uh-huh.
And so after I started in the marketing department, I was there for a few years. And then I believe it was 2006, I transitioned into the educational program as the program director. That's where I really was more involved in coordinating the presenters and the educational programming, the Fantasia show, and putting all the contracts together that way. And then shortly after that, I added the vice president role to that and kind of started coordinating more of the production side of things in addition to the program department. And in 2018, ended up taking over the reins when the founder was ready to retire.
So that's such a lovely transition. It was a one-line sentence, but I have a feeling there's a story there. So tell me how that came about.
Well, really working closely with the founder for I think it was about 18 years at that point.
Yeah.
So kind of knew the ins and outs, knew how things had been operating in the past and where we wanted to take them in the future. And really it was just kind of a logical transition in terms of keeping the same staff, the same corporate focus, you might say, and just
Mhm.
carrying it on.
Yeah. And so, in that season, was it like as a succession plan had begun, like, while the founder was you said it was the founder, right?
Was the founder correct?
Okay,
Hmm.
yes. So while the founder was like, "Okay, I think I'm gonna head this direction. Kogi, do you wanna take over behind me?" Was there, like, a couple of years of succession planning and learning, or was it more like, "We've been doing this for a long time. I pretty much trained you up, and you just didn't know that's what was happening?"
Well, I'd say a little bit of both.
Okay.
It was something where I knew the founder was getting ready to make a transition of some sort. Just wasn't entirely sure what direction that was going to go.
Okay.
And so we kind of talked about different options and really she did present the opportunity for me to carry it forward. And certainly
Mhm.
it's an honor, but it's also a huge undertaking and a big task.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're president and owner, correct? Then? So, like, you bought the
correct.
company
Hmm.
from her? Yeah. And so, yes,
Correct. Hmm.
yeah, that's a lot. And so what year was that?
Hmm. That was 2018.
Okay, beautiful. Awesome.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've caught everybody up. But now, honestly, to that point, so you've told us how you got there, but I would love to know for you what that's looked like since then for you, how your roles maybe have evolved or how the company has evolved since that time.
Sure. Well, it's been almost 7 years now, and it feels like yes, it's still yesterday, but at the same time, there's a lot that's
Yeah.
taken place in between. So, um, I would say we kind of similar to the past. We still have our main mission and focus in terms of education and bringing the industry together from all facets, all breeds, all disciplines, that kind of a thing. I think we have certainly endured a few road bumps, you might say, in terms of the pandemic.
Yes, so it
That
was
that
interesting
was
timing you took that over, huh?
yes, it was shortly thereafter, and certainly presented its challenges. Fortunately, we were able to endure, and we're still here today, and um, making the best of all that we can. Really excited in terms of continuing to evolve our educational programs, and also the trade show, trying to make sure we have the new brands, the new and your staples, in terms of bringing all the different businesses that the attendees really want to see and shop
Mhm.
and learn from.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm realizing for my audience, I'll make sure I do a good job in the intro telling them this is what Equine Affair is because I kind of jumped in with the everybody knows what Equine Affair is, of course. But
Sure.
honestly, while it's amazingly well known event, there continue to be new people that come into the industry, or obviously you're not everybody in the horse world is not at Equine Affair. There are still eyeballs to be found. So for those listening, I will do a better job in the intro before we jump in. But before I ask you about challenges and things that you've experienced, would you do me a favor, Kogi, and give us your general explanation of how you would tell the person who's just learning about Equine Affair what it is that you all do?
Sure. Well, Equine Affair, we are a 4-day horse expo taking place in Ohio and Massachusetts each year. And really, our goal is to bring the horse industry together in a primarily non competitive format. So we're focusing on education for all breeds, all disciplines, having presentations that cater to each of the different disciplines or sectors, but also allowing people to learn from each other and cross sections and things like that. Um, Also, our trade show is one of the largest in the United States, so bringing usually have about 300 exhibitors or more, and again, just the shopping mecca of all things horse, everything you might see online or in the catalogs or otherwise, or things that you didn't even know were out there, can be found on
Hmm.
the floor at Equine Affair, and along with services and networking too. It's a great place to meet other horse people that are like minded. And a lot of times you find people that you can collaborate with and new great things happen. Um,
Hmm.
so trade show is very important for us. Our breed pavilion, we try to work with a lot of the different organizations from throughout the country, and internationally as well, to represent the different types of horses that are out there. You might have always been involved in one type of breed or discipline, and then you come to Equine Affair and meet something else and say, "Wow, I never knew about this," or "I've always wanted to see one of these," and here it is up close and personal, and you can learn more. Um, Also, our Fantasia, our evening show is kind of a cornerstone for us in terms of really celebrating the horse in a theatrical, musical way, and showcasing all that horses and people can do together in just a more of an entertaining type platform.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good. I loved it. My daughter loved it. It's so good. So thank you for that. And like I said, I'll make sure in the intro we have a great understanding before they jump into that first questions. But it's good to hear from you as well, how you would describe it. So my next question, I love to ask about challenges or roadblocks that have come up along the way. Now, for you, it is unique, of course, because you kind of have a part A and part B to your story. I think the part A being when you were the employee, but then part B, I'm sure the challenges looked very, very different when you became the owner. So you may pull from whatever you think is most relevant for an entrepreneur and what you think is a fit. But would you share with us some of the challenges that you've experienced and learned from along the way as you've built up and served an equine affair?
Um, I would say there's always challenges, and if there weren't challenges, it wouldn't be business or life in general. So,
Yes.
kind of have to embrace them and really try and see what is the best direction for you, for the company, and things like that. So I think some of our, I guess, business specific challenges or for us would be trying to make sure we're connecting to all the people that we want to connect to.
Mm.
So obviously that's a marketing task, but we work collectively as a team in the company, all employees, trying to establish what are the best avenues for us to reach those people. Um, Being a expo type company, we not only have the attendees that we want to reach and bring into the event, but we're also targeting our exhibitors that we want to participate on the trade show floor, sponsors to help support all of the programming that we offer, the breed organizations to participate in our breed pavilion floor, and then people that are riding in the clinics are participating in that. So we have a lot of different sectors that we're really trying to reach and trying to ensure that we're using the best means um, to reach all of those. It might be more of a an email for some sectors, where more of a digital presence might be emphasized for other sectors. And obviously, I think having a well-rounded marketing campaign really will help execute and show you the results.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
that makes perfect sense. You have a large I love that you broke that down because from the outside, people could look at it and say she has a large audience, which is true. But then you're like, actually have
mhm.
multiple audiences, multiple
Yes.
buckets, right? That we are and people that
hmm
we are trying to communicate with and having to reach them in a different way. I can just imagine. Now you talked about team. Tell me what does your team look like at Equine Affair?
We have about 6 full-time employees,
Okay.
and it's a small group that works very hard year round.
Hmm.
And we're pretty close-knit in terms of, especially with event production, all of our different departments influence each other. So, a lot of our projects are overlapping. So weekly meetings, as staff collectively, individual department meetings once a week as well, just making sure we're all on the same page and moving forward in the manner that we want to, trying to plan ahead and address what we've accomplished, where we're headed, and different things like that. For our on-site team, it obviously grows because we can't do it all ourselves with just 6 people. So we usually have
Right.
about 40 contract staff that we bring in for each event,
Okay.
and then about 150 volunteers. So it kind of grows once we get on site and a few more bodies to coordinate. But fortunately, we
Hmm.
have an amazing team. We almost call it kind of like a family in terms of everybody working together. We have long-term employees that have been with us. I think our newest hire is now going on 4 years. So people are proud to be part of Equine Affair and proud of what we produce.
Yeah, that speaks volumes, 100%. Now for your 6 full-time, are you guys in the same location, or are you spread out across the country?
Kind of combination. So we
Okay.
have about 4 of us that are central Ohio here, and then 1 in Tennessee and 1 in Florida. So, but everybody comes together for the events and
Mhm.
for our our weekly meetings. I guess some of us are in the office and some of us are on Zoom, so it just kind of depends.
Yeah, okay. So you do have an office there in Ohio?
We
When you
do,
say in the
yes,
office, like,
yes.
you
hmm
actually okay, yeah, okay.
hmm
I actually didn't realize that. So I'm asking these questions because 'cause I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of our listeners, and they're thinking, "Okay, she's managing a
Yes.
team. She's got different departments. They're all having these different departmental meetings. Since it's a small team and you are the head, are you in every departmental meeting, or do you have, a few people that are your main that you're meeting with, and then it funnels down to the others? How does that look for you?"
Since it's a small team, I am in each of the meetings. So
Mhm.
I'm very hands on in terms of trying to make sure that we're all working together. I mean, when we get together to do our flyers, it's all hands on deck. Everybody helps with the counting and the mailing of the flyers, and even though we have individual responsibilities within each department, there are some projects where we all come together to make things happen.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And I believe I read or heard you say, I don't think you said it here. Maybe I was listening to your podcast on the Thriving Equine Professional to get a picture of your story. And I think you shared that you still do the educational programming, correct? And you're still very involved in like the planning of Fantasia. as you were
Yes.
before becoming
Yes.
the president?
In terms of designing the educational program, yes. I do have our business managers assistants now in terms of actually reaching out to all of the clinicians and negotiating the contracts and things like that.
Hmm.
But in terms of putting things together, I still am kind of identifying who we want to feature and sliding it into the program, and then we shimmy things around a little bit to make it all work, as we
Hmm.
know everybody's availability and things like that. So yes, it's kind of an important piece that I do enjoy. So I've kind of kept it under my wing, and that's kind of where we are for right now. Yes,
Yeah. Well, and you talking about it being so core to your mission, that makes perfect sense, right? You're like, this is the
yes,
thing that it's
hmm
not that the other things are not important, but from what you've said, I've heard you say a few different times, like that education component
hmm
is very core to your mission. So that would make sense
yes,
that you would stay so close to
yes,
that. Yeah,
hmm
100%. Were there
exactly.
any other challenges before I ask you about the marketing side of things? Were there any other challenges that just, even for you personally, as you've been growing into this owner role, that have helped you over the past few years that you've worked through?
Sure. I think one of the other challenges, which is probably true for most people, is keeping up with technology,
Mm,
and trying to ensure that we're utilizing it to the best of our ability, in the ways that we should, but I guess not overutilizing it either, and recognizing what our audiences are. I know some horse people are very tech savvy, while others certainly are not. So trying to navigate those areas, and finding that sweet spot in terms of just enough, but not too much, but making sure that
yeah.
people have the opportunity to utilize technology as needed too. I mean, it can certainly make a lot of things a lot easier, but we also kind of like the person to person connection too, as that's kind of what we're about as well.
Yeah. So tell me, if you don't mind, Kogi, a specific
Mhm.
example for you guys of that, of what that's looked like that you've had to navigate.
Sure. I think we're kind of looking at a lot of our online registrations. So trying to transition some of that to more of your online forms, so it's a little more user friendly for participants and things like that. We haven't transitioned all of them that way yet, but trying to kind of stay in tune to that. We have some pretty robust trade show software that we work with, for the trade show side of things, and trying to kind of correlate that to some of our other areas as well.
Okay. And especially when you think of team, I can imagine there's a strong pull to do some of that technology side because it makes their life so much easier, right?
Right, yes. Yes, exactly, exactly. Very true.
And, when you're mobile like that as well, I can, being at the event, being able to quickly and easily access what you need, that can be a
Yes,
very
that
strong
makes a
benefit for you.
huge difference for sure. Mhm,
Yeah, 100%. Well, tell us, the fun thing is that marketing for you was something that you studied in school, and then you
mhm,
started out in the marketing role there at Equine Affair. For you all, and for you particularly, when we think about marketing Equine Affair, I am sure many people have seen the things that you're doing, the ads and different publications and the partnerships that you have. But for you, tell me what that's been like learning it, or perhaps maybe because you walked into it already having a clear understanding. Maybe some of the things that have worked well for you or that you've enjoyed about marketing this event.
ooh, that's a great question. I think marketing really it's a fun journey, and I'm very fortunate to have a very amazing, marketing coordinator on the team, who really has, over the last few years, grown into her position, and has a really great feel for how we need to reach our horse people. Um, I think it's always fun for me in terms of looking at the different graphic elements and trying to, make sure that they're appealing, well organized, and probably one of the challenges for us is that we do have so many different things going on at the events to try and, condense it down so that it's easy to understand, but yet
Yeah.
still communicating all of the information that we want to communicate is a little bit challenging in terms of our print ads and even our digital campaigns. So having to pick and choose how we present that is something that's, challenging but fun at the same time. Um, I think in terms of marketing, like I said before, we do have those multiple audiences, so um, trying to cater to each of those and keep it fresh and come up with new concepts and new ways to present things is always keeping us on our toes, you might say.
Yes, I love that you touched on that because so much of marketing is that clear communication. And you're right, you guys have many, many things going on at one event. And so I know that can be cumbersome to try to clearly communicate while also answering their questions. When we think about marketing as far as appealing to the right people and getting them in the door, what has worked well for you guys, at least for the past couple of years? Or if there's a certain campaign that you're saying this was a few years ago, but this worked really well for us, I would love to hear about that.
Sure. Well, kind of like I said earlier, I think having a well-rounded marketing campaign is important, especially for us, where we're trying to target a variety of different demographics. Especially if you're looking, say, just at our attendees, we're trying to recruit your next generation all the way up through the senior citizens. So, people that are connected with the common passion for the horse, but yet having to I guess cater to each different demographic accordingly. So, with our marketing campaigns, we are looking at a wide variety, whether it's digital and social, or emails, or printed flyers, or direct mail pieces. It's kind of a well-rounded campaign that really takes all of it to make it work, so that we can make sure we're recruiting all of those.
Yeah. So are you guys doing ads right now, digital ads and things like that as you build up to that as well? Is that a
We
part of that
are,
mix?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are. So we are usually, as we get to the event, especially the 30, 60 days out, we're ramping up considerably. So digital ads, paid ads, things like that. We work with geo-targeting, all the different fun things that really have allowed us to hone in on equestrian people, and also trying to I guess, attract additional people that maybe are on the edge of the industry and not quite in yet, and bring them in.
I did notice that when I was there even, some of the people that you would meet, right, there is a mix, there's definitely a blend, and there are
Mhm,
some people are like, "This is my introduction." It's a really nice
mhm.
soft introduction to get people in there. I think that was a really neat way to do that. So when you're talking about what's worked, I am just curious, and you can say, "Denise, I don't know, I've handed that piece off." That is totally okay, okay? So I'm getting specific into the nitty-gritty of the marketing,
Sure.
because I think that you guys do a great job, and like you said, it is well-rounded, so I'm just curious if there has been something in particular that you guys, as of the past couple of years, have been like, "That hit the nail on the head. That worked really well for us. We're gonna continue to do this or hone in on this because it's working really well."
I think we've given more emphasis to our social media, and the digital campaigns, and who we're trying to target, how we're going about that, trying to make it relatable. I think responding to the way Facebook and Instagram, I guess, logarithms are working, leaning a little bit more toward videos. So trying to incorporate that, obviously, the more we do videos, the more we have to have assets and editing capabilities and all of that. Unfortunately, our marketing coordinator is able to do that, but it's no small task. So it's time consuming to really be able to produce those products. But I do think it's worth the investment in terms of having good quality video, and pictures are worth a thousand words. So having the right pictures out there also makes a big difference.
Yes, and I'm curious, this is something you haven't said, so you may say, "No, that's not the case," but you have specific headlining clinicians intentionally, it seems to be, that like, names, obviously, that are well known in different sectors and parts of the industry, and have you found that that is one way that's really pulled in some of those right people for you?
Yes, I think having a strong lineup does make a difference. Certainly, we want to appeal to the audience. We want to bring in people that people want to see. Obviously, giving them incentive to come visit our event and meet the people that they can't always see in person. on a regular basis, you might say. I think it's also fun for us to introduce some of the new people in the industry and really help them use Equine Affaire as a marketing platform for their businesses and their career. We've had a number of people say, wow, I never knew that starting or presenting at Equine Affaire would give me so many opportunities. So it's really fun to be able to help people in that manner as well.
I love that you said that, Kogi. I will say, I was blessed to be able to present at both events, and I would echo that from them. Like, it was a beautiful opportunity and a platform to get to meet people in a new way and to solidify the credibility of what I do. And I have clients now also that are presenting at some of at your events, both of them. And so
Mhm.
they have said the same thing as you. They said like it's a different level of credibility and new connections that are made. And you're serving the business owner, but also serving the audience so well because they're getting connected with people that can help them that they had maybe never met before or knew about before. So I love that. I think it's a beautiful way you're serving the industry in that way.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So I'd love to know, Kogi, if you're hanging out with a fellow entrepreneur in the equine industry. Obviously, Equine Affair is a little bit of a different animal than many other businesses in the industry. But the mindset of an entrepreneur and the approach of an entrepreneur can be similar. So, for you, if you're sitting across the table with somebody and they're asking you about building a business that meets your version of success, which is one of the things that for me is really key that I teach here on the podcast is we're not chasing everyone else's version. We want to figure out what does success mean to us individually with our capacity, our energy, our dreams, all of those things, and it's unique. But there are some things that we can each do individually to reach that, and those are some common grounds that we can find. So are there things that you have learned, lessons that you've learned, things that you think people should know as they are going about on their own journey of entrepreneurship?
Sure. I guess it's kind of hard to narrow it down, but a few things. I think as an individual, I think you need to be thoughtful. You need to be inspired. If you're inspired, then you can go accomplish great things, and you can also help inspire others. So I
Mm,
guess setting the example, staying positive. Uh, Even when the going gets tough, there's going to be challenges. There are going to be days where it's not easy, but one
yes.
step in front of the other, and you can dig yourself out or overcome bigger obstacles with that positive mindset. I think that does go a long way, both personally and professionally. Um, Realize it's okay to say no. It's can be very challenging to say no, but sometimes you have to know when the timing is right to say, I'm sorry, this isn't quite the direction that I want to go, in order to really preserve the the mission that you're following.
That's so
Um,
good.
Teamwork, I think teamwork is extremely important, whether it's with if you're working by yourself or with a team, whether it's small or large. Kind of have to realize that one person doesn't always have to do everything, and can't always do everything. And so having a
Mhm.
great team in place really helps solidify accomplishing your goals and your missions. I think also in that team, making sure that your team members know that they're appreciated, their efforts are valued. That also kind of comes back in the long run of everybody really being interested and willing to contribute to the larger picture.
Mhm.
And then I'd also say planning. I think planning for a variety of scenarios, especially in event production, we know that things don't always go according to plan. We have best of intentions and everything can be lined up, but there's always that last minute cancellation, and we need to have Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D ready to go. So being prepared is also very helpful.
That's so true. I have a friend that I used to work with who is a certified meeting planner, and I remember her talking about, like, that's just core. You're not planning just meeting A. Like you just said, you've got multiple backups already prepared, and I think that's
Hmm.
brilliant, and many of us could learn from that, whether we're doing events or not. I'm curious for you, Kogi, you mentioned in the beginning being inspired. How are some of the ways or what are some of the ways that you keep yourself inspired, especially considering you've been doing this for so many years and it can easily, I would think, I could be wrong. I would think it could be easy to fall into the trap of rinse and repeat, but you all continue to come up with new ideas and new things to bring to the table to keep it fresh. So, what are the things that you do to keep yourself inspired personally?
Um, I think I think kind of staying in tune with the different facets of the industry. Do come from a little bit more of an English background, but I'm always looking at what are all of these other events, other shows, other and even non-equine related events doing that might translate to something that we could do at Equine Affair. So keeping my eyes open, keeping the feelers out there. I think being involved in the industry, I do still ride and train and show. So kind of staying connected in that realm also is helpful to make connections, networking, and really just keep the eyes open and see what might transpire.
Do you happen to look outside of the industry just from the expo perspective? Like, are you
Mhm.
involved in watching what other expos are doing just outside of the equine industry to build and stretch what you're doing?
I do, yes, yes. Try and keep tabs of not only expos but other events too. I mean, what trying to see what might be parallel. Obviously, mass public is a little bit different than the horse industry, but at the same time, we all are members of the mass public in one way or another. So sometimes there are ways that things can correlate in that manner as well. So yes, trying to look at what's trending both within the industry and in populace as general or in general.
Yeah. Okay, I have another one I want to dive into that you mentioned, which
Mhm.
all of those were such good advice, by the way, 100% great advice. And I will have that lined out in the show notes. But you mentioned team, and I'm curious because you've also mentioned the longevity of your team members. So, of your six, how many of them, if you don't mind me asking, how many of them were already team members before you became the president and owner? And then, yeah, so that to give me a picture, like of those six, what does longevity look like for them? Because I have a feeling you guys have been a core team for a while.
We have, yes, for a majority of it. Let's see, would be 4 of the 6 were have been there, probably 10 plus years.
Wow.
And then the other 2 we brought on, I think in 2022 for both of them.
Okay.
So
And was
it's
that an expansion then? So those were new roles that you created?
those were actually replacements.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, we've had it's just a great team that works really well together. So it
That's
makes it fun.
phenomenal.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
curious because team is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, from the hiring aspect to the keeping them there and to the aspect that you mentioned was just having that core mission that drives everything together. Are there some things that you feel like you guys have done well at Equine Affair that other entrepreneurs can learn from that have kind of helped this take place? Because that's kind of unheard of, truly.
It's unfortunately, it's kind of a unique situation in a lot of
Mhm.
ways.
Yes.
But I do feel like each of our team members is very passionate about what they do.
Mm.
And being able to see the end product. You prepare all year for each of the events, and then when you see it all come together and how your efforts kind of pay off to see all of the, whether it's in the trade show, see all the exhibitors there, and then you also have the attendees who are enjoying shopping with the exhibitors,
Yeah.
and just the whole, we kind of call it like Christmas for us. So we plan all year waiting for that
Yes.
that time, and then it's there in all its glory, and we really do relish with it. Um, I think we also have a high professional standard, and we kind of abide by that day in and day out in terms of ensuring that our communications are professional, or we're following up with people, trying to provide that high level customer service as well.
That's I love that you mentioned that because I think for a lot of people, and I will even say my experience prior to owning my own business when I was a freelancer and just kind of getting the peak of an entrepreneur and what they were doing. And oftentimes, when somebody brings in a team member, they kind of assume that that team member is going to care as much as they do, right? Like nobody's
Hmm.
truly going to care as much as you do as the owner.
Hmm.
And yet, I feel like with your team members and the ones that I've interacted with, they care deeply. Like you can feel that you can just feel it. You experience it, it feels different. And so, for those listening that are struggling with that, know that it's possible, but it's also on you as the owner, I believe. And I think that you've clearly done that well and maybe stepped into this with the founder had done that well also because you were there, what, 18 years, I think you said, before you stepped into
Mhm.
that role. So, clearly, you had a deep connection to that as well. But for those listening, remembering that your team members don't always have the same level of investment as you emotionally, but it doesn't mean that you can't get them there. But they've got to have some buy-in and be connected. So I'll give a specific example. For some, it means they have people at home in the barn while the owners and their coaching team members, the owner and their show team goes to the show, right? They get to visibly see the fruit of their efforts while some people are staying behind in the barn, right? And they don't get to visibly see the fruit of their efforts. So, for those listening, think of some creative ways perhaps that you can bring them in the fold or make them to be a part of that. Because what I hear you saying is one of the reasons there's such buy in is because they get to really experience the fruit of the effort that they've put in. And
Mhm.
it's hard to monetize that, that experience.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, for sure. And I think too, it also we kind of come in when we do bring a new employee on, we preface it with it's going to take a little while to really fully understand the cycle of things and how
Mm.
everything works and is interconnected. So, knowing that we have the patience and we'll take the time to um, make sure they have all the tools that they need and learn the processes. I think that also helps make things very successful.
That's so true. That's so key. That communication piece and setting the expectations. Because I think, too, back to that similar example, sometimes the expectation is, I'm going to get to experience all these things, right? And then they
Right.
don't, and they feel deflated and frustrated and let down. But if you can clearly communicate what's going to happen and also let them know how their role is key to the mission. I feel that's something
Hmm.
that is often left off when it comes to
Right.
communicating that, right? Letting them know this is your role, but you are doing this work. It may feel minimal, it may feel not important, but let me tell you why it's important and how it's connected to the mission. And that
Hmm.
can make a key difference too.
Absolutely.
And I would imagine that you do that a lot as well when you talk about having 40 freelancers. Like that's a
Mhm.
lot. Like we're talking about the 6, but let's also remember the 40 freelancers and 150 volunteers. And some of those I believe from what I understand are pretty faithful volunteers that come back year after year because they're invested
Mhm.
as well. So clearly
Yes.
you're doing that well. I'm curious, Kogi, are there some how does that look like coming from the top down? Clearly, you're not able to connect with all 40, I would think, contractors and all 150 volunteers, but maybe you do. Maybe you do you have like a gathering of everybody at the beginning to set the tone? Or what does that look like for you on a practical level to come from the top
Mhm.
down and say, the work you guys are doing matters, the hours you're putting in this week matters, and let me tell you why.
Sure, sure. I think from a staffing perspective, again, on the contract side of things, we're very, very fortunate in that we have a very high rate of return. Some of the contract staff have been there even longer than I have. So,
Wow.
it's kind of like I said, again, kind of a unique family, kind of like a family reunion where we get together once a year in each of the locations. So, some of our contract staff are located in Massachusetts, so they only come to the Massachusetts event. Some are in
Mm,
Ohio and just come to the Ohio event. But at the same time, just a very, very dedicated group of people that really want to contribute to what we're all about. So in terms of the volunteers, and well, I guess going back to the contract staff, usually at the end of the event, we tear down on Sunday, and we'll get everybody together for dinner afterwards, and just kind of kick back, catch up with everybody, say
yeah.
hello if we haven't already said hello during the event, that kind of a thing. Um, I do typically try to make the rounds and connect with as many of the contract staff as I can during the event, just to see how things are going. Do they have any concerns? That kind of a thing. Um, and then in terms of the volunteers, I'm not as involved in the volunteer sector of it, other than certainly thanking people as I see them. Excuse me. But we do have kind of a great volunteer coordinator within each volunteer office. And then for those that are helping us with Fantasia, we have kind of a powwow right before Fantasia, bringing everybody on the same page and kind of getting them ready for the ushering and what can be expected in that.
Okay, so good. Thanks for answering that. I know I'm throwing you some left curves that you were like, these were not on the things you were going to ask.
That's okay.
But I think it's so helpful for people to get this inside look. So I appreciate that
Yes.
so much. All right, before we go, I would love to know if there's any other parting advice. You're knowing that you're talking to fellow entrepreneurs in the equine space, many of who are probably honestly on your trade show floor, some of your exhibitors, some of your presenters. So you know who these people are. You've seen them building businesses through the years. Do you have any parting advice for them?
Um, I guess I would say just keep in mind that possibilities are limitless. Hard
Mm.
work will go a long way, and you never know what can come together when you collaborate.
That's good. That's beautiful. I love that. Those are 3 solid things that I think that they could each to take away. So I appreciate that. Okay, Kogi,
Yes.
what a gift. Thank you for sharing this. Of course, I want to give you an opportunity to tell everybody where they can go find out about you guys and what you are doing. And as I mentioned to you, we are putting this episode out as soon as possible so that those who are in the Ohio area or drivable distance could come to your event in April. So we didn't talk about that. April is the Ohio event. Let's say that. Massachusetts, it's in November each year, right? So for those
Correct.
listening, whether they're listening beginning of the year or listening to a replay, and so they just need to go online and find what time of year it is, depending on when they're listening. Tell those who are listening where they can find you guys online.
Sure. Well, our website is equineaffaire.com. We're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those good fun ones, slash Equine Affaire, all one word, no spaces in between. And our business phone, if you'd rather give us a call, 740-845-0085.
Okay, I have to say, I think you're the first person to ever give the phone number, which I think goes back to what you said before, though, like you knowing your audience, and you guys have such a blend. So nowadays, oftentimes people aren't giving out the phone number, but you're saying, hey, here's the phone number because I know some people do just prefer to call in and get the information. So I think that's brilliant.
Right.
That's so good. I love that.
Well,
Okay,
thank you.
Kogi. Thank you again. I so appreciate your gift of time. I love what you guys are doing there. I am cheering for you. And I know those listening are walking away with some good nuggets to take to their business as well.
Well, wonderful. It's been a lot of fun. I thank you for having me, and we'll hopefully see a lot of people at Equine Affaire.
All right, friends, I hope that you enjoy getting to know Kogi as much as I do. I could hear her heart, I could hear her passion, and I can also tell you from getting to interact with her team members, both as a presenter and just from the marketing perspective and getting this interview set up, her team members are excited and passionate about what they're doing, and they do have a high level of service about them and how they communicate, and they are lovely. And so, what she said, I just want to tell you is true, and it comes through. And the top down approach, it matters. So Kogi's heart, clearly a heart of gold, and that shines through her team members. And so for you guys, I hope that encourages you. Whether you are looking to build a team, you have a team, or you're saying, Denise, it's just me, but I can appreciate what she talked about in terms of staying inspired or being okay with saying no and keeping the mission at the core. You guys have heard me say often that when we know what our version of success is and we know the why behind what we are doing, then that is a clear filter that will help you to build a sustainable business. And that is evident in the story here with Equine Affaire, because I heard Kogi multiple times talk about the mission and what we do. And I believe that it's because they have that clear mission and they are all about the mission and they use that as the filter. That is one of the markers and one of the reasons they have had such a successful, sustainable business thus far. So I am cheering for them. I hope you guys are too. I hope that you learn from this. And I hope that if you are in a drivable distance to either Equine Affaire event or you just want to fly in and check it out, I highly recommend it. If you're going to fly in, I also recommend you have enough luggage space to be able to bring back what you get there, because you're going to find some good deals and some good things, as she said, that you may have never heard of, businesses you've not yet met, but once you do, you're going to be fans. So please go check out Equine Affaire. Go visit them if you can and take away some lessons to apply to your business because, as you guys know, it is great to be inspired, but the magic is going to be in the action taking. Okay, so if you had a takeaway from this episode that you'd like to share, please feel free to send it to me anytime. I would love to hear how you guys are applying what you are learning. Find me on Instagram at Storm Lily Marketing, on Facebook, or send me an email, denise@stormlily.com. And I'm going to say, share this with a friend. If you know of others in the business, in the equine industry who are trying to grow their business, they need to be here. Okay. This is the place where they're going to learn the practical and strategic things that will help them. So I hope you will share this episode with a friend. I hope you will take action and I hope you will stay subscribed because I have some more new episodes coming out over the next few weeks. And I have some really neat podcast interviews scheduled as well. Some new friends I can't wait to introduce you to. Thank you so much for joining me here, friends. I hope you have an amazing day and I will see you back here soon.